We're recording the interview of Tommy Davis. This interview is being conducted by Eric Whitty and Adrian Dakota Hill from the Wright State University Veterans Voices Project. This interview is being recorded at VFW Post 3283 in Huber Heights, Ohio. It is 5:30 p.m. on June 26, 2014. Okay, to start off, where and when were you born?
Portsmouth, Ohio, October 13th, 1959.
Okay. What was your family situation like? What were your parents' occupations?
My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a homemaker. Lived in Portsmouth, Ohio for probably the first 12 years of my life, and then we moved to Cincinnati. Lived there for about 8 years.
Okay. Any siblings?
I have an older brother.
Older brother. Were either of your parents in the military?
My father was in the Navy.
In the Navy? During World War II?
Yeah.
Did your brother serve?
Yeah, he retired Air Force.
Retired Air Force. Okay. So what were you doing before you enlisted?
School, working. I quit high school my junior year and joined the Marine Corps.
Okay. So why don't you give us a brief rundown of your military service, just what your MOS was, places you've been?
I started out as an infantryman in 29 Palms, California, back in March of '78, after I went to ITS, Infantry Training School. I was there for 14 years, a couple of different units there on base. Then I went to sea school, and after sea school I was assigned to the USS Missouri out in the Persian Gulf. Spent about 3 weeks out there on that. They sent me back because my daughter got sick. Stayed back in 29 Palms after that until Desert Storm. Went to Desert Storm, came back January, and got orders to Camp Lejeune, and went to Camp Lejeune, and that's where I retired from.
Okay. Okay, so if it's not obvious, which branch of the military did you serve?
Marine Corps.
And you enlisted.
Right.
So why did you choose the Marine Corps?
Sitting at a bar one night, and Marine Corps gunnery sergeant come walking in and dressed blues, and sat there and talked to him. The next morning, went down and signed up.
Nice. So it was the dress blues that got you. All right. So how long after you decided to enlist was it before you went to boot camp?
About a month.
About a month. What did you do during that month?
Worked, went to school. They called me up and said they had an opening to go to boot camp early. I wasn't supposed to go until like January. And they called me Christmas Day and said they had an opening on the 27th. And I said, yep, I'll go.
So what was that like, leaving your family to go to boot camp?
Interesting. First time I'd really been away from home for a significant amount of time, so it was pretty interesting.
And how old were you?
18.
18. Okay. So, do you remember your drill instructors?
Oh yeah.
What were they like?
It was, I mean, recruiter had already told me what was going to happen and everything. I was pretty well prepared for it, so I just did what I had to do and got through it.
Okay. Did any of them do like one thing in particular that surprised you or really had an impact on you? Or?
Yeah, the senior drill instructor, he was from my hometown, and been there probably 4 days, and they had a blizzard here in Ohio back in '77, and he called me in the office about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking I messed up somewhere. So he says, they had a blizzard in Portsmouth, you need to call home. So he handed me the phone so I could call my mom and dad, make sure they were all right. That was pretty neat.
Oh, wow. So after boot camp, what kind of training did you get?
After boot camp, I went to Camp Pendleton and went to, well, it was infantry training school then, but now it's called School of Infantry, but did 3 months there at Camp Pendleton and then got orders to go to 29 Bombs.
Okay. And I don't think we said it. Where did you go to boot camp?
Paris Islands.
So how did you adapt to military life? Things like the PT, barracks, food.
I thought it was great. It was pretty easy for me. I didn't really have a hard time with it.
How about the social life? What was your platoon like? What'd you think?
It was pretty neat. Boot camp had a lot of good friends at boot camp.
Okay. So you went to 29 Palms for 14 years, you said.
Right.
Did you ever get deployed during that time?
Oh yeah, we went Bridgeport, California for cold weather training, rock package, summertime. Let's see, where else we go? Went to Okinawa a couple times, did a Liberty float up to San Francisco, but mostly we just trained all the Marines for desert warfare.
Okay. So you guys were the oppositional force for CAXs? And
Yeah. Oh, the unit I was in, we was the first ones, we started the CAX. We set everything up and everything else.
It might be worthwhile to explain what a CAX is and what 29 Palms
It's a combined arms exercise. So you get Army, Navy, Air Force all together and just big scenario, and we all do it at one time and just work out the problems, and afterwards it critiquing what needs to be fixed, what doesn't, and everything else.
And what is 29 Palms?
Middle of the Mojave Desert. It's the second largest base in the Marine Corps.
Okay. So let's talk about overseas deployments. Where was your first overseas deployment?
First overseas deployment was Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I was stationed there for a year. I was the platoon sergeant for Marine Force Windward.
And what was the mission in Guantanamo?
Security of the base between the fence line from Commonwealth Cuba to our base.
Okay. So you actually served on the fence line?
Oh, yeah.
Watching.
Drove up and down the fence line area every night.
So you were in Guantanamo for a year?
Right.
Where else did you go?
And then we went, I've been to 30 years ago, let's see where. Okinawa. Did a year in Okinawa. Liberty floats, been to Australia and all that. Saudi Arabia, Desert Storm Shield. Did right after the bombing in Beirut, Lebanon, we went over there, helped clean that place up. And Camp Lejeune, that's about it.
So let's talk about Beirut. So remind me, was that 1983? 83. What was going on there before you
It
went?
was after the bombing. They sent our unit over to help secure the place and help.
So the terrorists had blown up the barracks that the Marines were
right.
stationed in. Did you happen to know any of the Marines that were deployed
No,
over there?
I didn't know them. I got to know a couple of them while I was there.
So how long after the bombing did you find out you were going?
2 days.
2 days. And how much lead time did they give you? How soon did you deploy?
36 hours.
So, take a short break. Okay, so again, we're recording the interview of Tommy Davis, back from our break. And this interview is still being conducted by Eric Whitty and Adrian Dakota Hill from the Wright State University Veterans Voices Project. Okay, so after you guys got done in Beirut, where did you go?
Back to 29 Palms. Went to a couple different units there. Was in headquarters battalion for like 3 years doing admin. And then I went, and that's when I went to C school.
Okay. Well, why don't you tell us what exactly is C school?
C school is, it's sort of like Marine Security Guard for the embassies, but it's for ships. So you gotta go do the same thing Marine Security Forces do for embassies, but you're on ship. So you gotta do all the training, and you gotta learn how to like put out fires on ships and stuff like that.
Okay. So what ship did you get assigned to?
I was on the USS Missouri battleship.
Okay. And that was where the treaty with Japan was signed.
Right.
So what did that feel like, being on a historical?
I loved it. It was great. I mean, they had pictures all over the place. And they had on the deck where the table was set, where they signed it, they got a big plaque covered up, lights on it and everything else. It was pretty neat.
So you guys appreciated the significance
Oh yeah, it was historical.
And again, your job on the ship was?
I was a 5-inch gun captain.
Okay, so you commanded one of the
Right.
guns on the battleship.
The Marine turret.
So what did you do? How long were you on the Missouri?
Well, I got there and my daughter got sick and was put on life support, so I was there about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And you said you were in the Gulf?
No, it was the Strait of Hormuz.
Straight Hormuz. Did anything happen while you were on the ship?
That
or?
was back when they was, I can't remember who it was, but they was using the Zodiac boats and putting mines out.
Uh-huh.
And that's what we was doing, security forces, to keep them out from putting mines in the water.
Okay. Did you
No.
encounter anybody?
No,
Okay. So after the Missouri, what did you?
went back to 29 Palms and went back to a couple different units, and then went to Desert Shield, or Desert Storm, Desert Shield.
Okay. When did you find out you were going to Desert
We
Storm?
was the first unit, Marine unit, that was over there. My battalion had just gone to Bridgeport, California for cold weather training. And they left 2 days, and we got the call, and we had to call them up and bring them back. So that was pretty neat.
Okay. Where did they send you exactly?
We went from 29 Palms, we flew out at March Air Force Base, and then it was like a 21-hour flight. Then we flew into Port of Jabal in Saudi Arabia. And then we stayed in the warehouses there at the port for like a week. And then we started moving up north.
Okay. And when was this?
August of whatever, whenever, I can't remember.
91?
91, yeah.
So you said you moved up north. Where?
Yeah, we left the port and we was probably about 5 miles south of the Kuwaiti border.
Kuwaiti, Saudi Arabia border?
Right. And then we just set up camps there because they were still offloading the MPS ships and stuff during that time.
And what were the camps like?
The camp that we stayed at first, it was, they had all the old oil well workers. They had like camps with barracks and stuff. We stayed there probably 2 weeks. It was pretty nice. And then when we moved up north, it was just GP tents and hot.
Okay, so how long were you on the border?
August to December, about 4 months.
So you were on the border when they started the bombing campaign.
Right.
How much of that were you guys aware of? Did you get to see the news? Or?
Not that much. I mean, we knew that the Scuds were coming and stuff, and we digging Scud trenches around the encampment and stuff, but cruise missiles flying over is pretty neat.
Did any Scuds get fired your way?
Not our way, no.
So you're in the camp, hearing about what was going on. When did you guys finally get involved?
I left Christmas Day. My daughter got sick again, came back. But Thanksgiving, the president came down and had Thanksgiving with us.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty neat.
Okay. So either during Desert Storm or really any of your overseas deployments, what did you do? What did you and your guys do to keep yourselves sane? What did you do to pass the time?
I was working admin at the time when I was over there. I was in charge of getting all the SRBs and stuff in order to make sure all the life insurance forms and stuff. And right after we got there, my warrant officer got this brainwave. Let's send out form letters to all these different companies and see what they'll send us. We sent letters to beef jerky places, TV places, and it wasn't 2 months later we started getting truckloads of stuff. I mean, everybody had their own TV. It was pretty neat. It was just people were just supporting us left and right.
How about the other guys in your unit? What kind of friendships or enemies? Or?
Oh, we were really close. We got over there, and I mean, because the unit that I was with, we'd been together for like 5 or 6 years, and everybody knew how everybody was and everything else. And when we got over there, they realized that we've been training them for this all this time, and now it's time to do it. So it was pretty neat.
So staying in touch with your family, how'd you communicate?
They had telephones, like 3 or 4 on the camp, the oil camp that they had. Well, it took Saudi Arabian money, coins, and we didn't have any. So there was a telephone company probably a mile from where we were staying. So I went over and was trying to find out how to go about exchanging American money for the coins so everybody could, we had a battalion formation. And I told them, I said, if you guys want money to make phone calls, you got to give me the money so I can go get it exchanged. I had like $30,000 or $40,000. And I walked in with all this money and told her I want coins for the telephones. And she just looked at me like I was nuts. 3 days later, they got it. Then we had another battalion formation. We handed it all out. And of course, putting coins in those things, it fills up really quick. They had to empty the phones like 3 or 4 times a day. It was pretty neat.
So, of the almost 6 months that you were there, how many times did you get to call home?
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
What was that like talking to your family back home?
And because they'd been seeing everything that's been going on and stuff, and we knew what we was doing over there, but we didn't know what the media was saying. And my wife was asking me all these questions, and I was like, no, it's not that bad.
Did you ever get any liberty?
They had not liberty, it was, we'd come out of the field, we'd probably spend a week in the field, and then they'd rotate us out. And they had a camp, had this big pool in it. And they'd shuttle us over there for like a day and go swimming and play video games and stuff like that. But we had everything on base. I mean, probably by the time they got the camp set up, we had Baskin Robbins, and a lot of them, the Saudis had their little stations out there, and they'd roast whole chickens for like $5. They had all kinds of food and stuff. It was pretty neat.
Nice. All right. So, did you say that you were a drill instructor at some point?
I was, and then I lost my voice, and as I can tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. one school for it, and that was it.
Okay, so coming home from Desert Storm, how'd you get back home?
Well, I flew. Oh, that was a joke. They flew me because I got the message that my daughter was on life support, and I wasn't going to go because I told the base general before we left that if anything, the only way I would come back is if she died. And it was Christmas Day. We was digging scud trenches around the camp, and the company gunner came up, and I'm in the hole digging, and he hands me this Red Cross message, and I read it and I handed it back to him. I continued to dig. And he goes, Staff Sergeant Davis, he says, you're gone. I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, they literally picked me up, handcuffed me, got my sea bag, and put me on a plane.
Wow. So you flew back home on a military plane then?
Oh, it was, yeah, they flew me from Saudi to Tokyo on a C-130. And then I was going to take a commercial airlines from there, but it was going to take me like 4 days. Well, when I checked into the Marine Liaison office in Tokyo, I had my emergency leave papers. He goes, no. He says, you're out of here today. Because they wouldn't expect me to get back until like 3 days later.
Yeah.
I got back that night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a surprise for your family.
Oh, yeah, they wouldn't expect me back.
What was that like being home?
After I got there and made sure my daughter and everything was all right, I wanted to go back. And they wouldn't let me. They said, no, your daughter needs you here. So I just stayed there, but watching it on TV and knowing that my guys were over there doing, it was like, and I kept hearing all the names of people that I knew, like the colonels and stuff and everything else that I worked with. That was pretty hard.
So you were in for several years after Desert Storm. What else did you do?
Yeah, right after they got back from Desert Storm, my daughter had passed away, and the base sergeant major had called and said, wherever you want to go, you can go. East Coast, West Coast, you name it. I said, just get me off the West Coast. I said, I've been on the West Coast for 14 years. 3 days later, I got orders to Camp Lejeune.
And what were you doing at Camp Lejeune?
I didn't know until I got there, because my orders were pretty blank. I checked in with the base sergeant major, and he goes, oh, you're the one. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. So he makes a phone call, and a friend of mine was with me from 29 Palms that was in my unit. He went to SOI, which is School of Infantry, which I was thinking that's where I was going to go. So the base sergeant major makes a phone call and he goes, writes down this master sergeant's name. He says, go check him. You're going to be his replacement. Now I'm a staff sergeant. I'm going to be replacing the master sergeant. So I was the base game warden at Camp Lejeune for like 5 years.
Wow. So what were your duties?
We was in charge of all the hunting on the base, all the fishing, alligator count. We worked with the wildlife department quite a bit.
I imagine you guys would get called if there was a dangerous animal.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere. Did you ever have to remove a gator or
Alligator.
snake from a housing area?
All the time. And we had at the rifle range at Verona, they had a alligator was in the ditch. We had to go out and move it. And black bears and stuff that got hit by cars and stuff. We have to go move those and stuff. That's pretty neat.
That's pretty interesting. So you retired from Lejeune?
Yeah, I was, after I left the game warden's office, I was the operations chief for the rifle range.
Okay. And what were you guys doing at the rifle range? What was the training?
Just qualifications and getting everybody ready for deployments and stuff like that.
Okay. So how did you come about the decision to retire?
Just after 21 years, it was like I was done. I just did my time, and it was like time to move on.
Have you kept in contact with any of your friends from
Yeah.
when you were in the service?
Yeah, I got 3 or 4 guys that was in Marine Corps with that I keep in touch with all the time.
Okay, so obviously you're a member of a veterans organization.
Right. VFW, yeah, you're right.
How did that come about?
Came in one night and asked what it was all about, and they told me, and I signed up, and that was about 14 years ago.
So what do you think? Why are you a member of a veterans organization? Why do you do it?
The veterans need help, and I mean this place especially. We help anybody that needs help. We had a Air Force reservist that was killed about 2 months ago, and we got together and paid for her funeral and her headstone and her son's funeral because he was killed at the same time.
So what have you done since separating from the military?
Did corrections in North Carolina for about 1.5 years, and then transferred up here to Ohio because my son was going to Ohio State. And after corrections, I joined the post office, and I've been there 14 years.
Oh, okay. So did your military service help
Oh yeah.
with you?
I've been in uniform ever since I was 18.
So some of your overseas and wartime experiences, how did they affect your life?
Not that bad. The only thing I really regret was being away from my family as much as I was in deployments and everything. That was really the only bad thing I could say about the service.
What about any kind of lessons that you learned while you were in the military? Anything?
Just keep on marching. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
So how has your military service changed or strengthened your feelings about war and about the military in general?
We need the military to protect us and protect people that can't protect themselves, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that's what we're here for, is to help other people out.
So this video, this may be seen by future generations, 16, 17-year-old kids that are thinking about joining the military. Do you have any message for them, any advice?
If they don't know what they want to do, I think during the stint in the military would be a great option for them. It opens your eyes up to what's out there and gets you some training, and it makes you a better person.
Okay. How about to other new veterans, people just getting out? What kind of advice do you have for them?
Just make sure that they get documentation for everything that's wrong with them, and even if it's the slightest thing, because 5, 6 years down the road, it could turn into a big thing. I found that out the hard way with my throat.
Do you mind talking about what that process was like? And
Just right before I retired, I didn't know anything about getting disability or anything else. Well, a friend of mine had told me, he said, no, you need to go get checked. So I went to the VA there in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and they did a full physical and stuff, and went through my medical record. Well, you had this back problem back then, you still have it. The problem now, I was like, yeah. So they documented that. So if it's documented in your medical records, get it checked out before you get out of the service.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the help that they've given you for your medical problems that you developed?
I don't go to VA.
You don't go to the VA?
No.
Any particular reason?
Just don't trust them.
Is there a reason for that, like a personal experience, or what stories you've heard about it?
With the situation, because my daughter was being seen in military hospitals, she had to have a heart, lung, and liver transplant. And I mean, it was just, they'd see her and then they'd send her to a civilian doctor. And it was like, well, if I'm gonna see a civilian doctor, I'm gonna go see a civilian doctor. So yeah, it was like, the runaround, but, I mean, there's some good doctors and stuff in the military, I will say that, but I just don't have a thing for VA.
Okay. Is there anything else that we haven't gone over that you wanted to add in?
No, I enjoyed my 21 years in the Marine Corps.
So if you could do it all over
Oh,
again?
I'd do it in a heartbeat. Matter of fact, when 9/11 happened, I went back down to Marine recruiter.
Did you? What did they tell you?
You can't do it, you're too old. It's like
How old were you at the time?
44.
44.
Adrian, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. You don't have anything else you wanted to add? All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Well,
Yeah, that's
that's
good.
a good interview. Thank you.
Thank you.